At the tender age of 6, Timothy Girard got his first glimpse of his future when his father took him to the family-owned machine shop in New Jersey. Almost immediately, he felt a connection that he knew was going to last a lifetime. From the first day in 1952, when Timothy's grandfather started operations in a small trailer, Girard Equipment began a history of building top-quality products that meet the needs of its customers. The next generation of Girards, Timothy's father and uncle, helped to make Girard Equipment a well-known name in the chemical transportation business.
So my brothers and I worked in the summers in the machine shop for the most part. So we were machining parts, and then we would do various things throughout the business. We would always be in the factory. That's where we learned to build a lot of equipment. We'd build valves, we'd build vents, we'd build assemblies that were used in transportation, and that's kind of how we learned.
You know, I think my parents liked the fact that we all worked and weren't sitting around the house, or had some sort of a part-time job.
I was still in college. I think I just would say that I started in a bar and a restaurant, basically. Would go to school in the daytime and work at night, and I helped develop this whole business plan. That was probably my first entrepreneurial thing, because I really treat the business I worked for as my own, and that's kind of get you ready to have your own business eventually. I was happily doing what I was doing in the restaurant bar business. I was learning that, and I was pretty good at it, and I thought. And my father approached me. He had a position open for me, and figured I'd eventually come into the business. He asked me, really heartfelt. He said, I really want you to work for me and for us, and come work with your brothers and all that. And that was just all it really took was the way he asked it, and he wasn't pushy about it. He wanted me in that business.
The early days that Tim and I were both involved in business, we were really more of a regional parts distribution company. We called on a lot of accounts that were in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. We also had this manufacturing business that was really a smaller portion of our total sales. So at that time, I'd say we were probably maybe 25% manufactured products, 75% distributed products. Now that's totally flip-flopped. We're mainly a manufacturer.
The Northeast is very populated, very costly to operate a manufacturing business. I wanted to find greener pastures, and certainly Florida has greener pastures all year round. So that's always good too. And a better economy that we thought we could work with.
The Chamber facilitated a local jobs grant for Tim's company, so to give him even more incentive to move the company here and hire local employees.
Tim is one of the first industries that come around here like that wasn't a citrus grove. He brought something new to the community that people, like I said, were very shocked. It was like, wow, we don't have a place like this around here that hire employees that's not seasonal all year round.
A long time ago, we dedicated ourselves to building the manufacturing business, and the result has really borne out over those past 20 years. So we've kind of flipped the business, and we're less of a distributor of other people's product and more of a manufacturer of our own product.
In the manufacturing process, if the basic cast component has got any problems, then you don't always find that out until you machine the valve. So you've lost all that labor and time in machining the valve. But if you control the manufacturing of the castings using your own foundry, you can know in the process something's gone wrong, and you go, okay, well, those parts I can't use, I can't send them for machining, they have to be scrapped. But another independent company making those castings will most likely just ship them all out.
Tim felt that it was important to create a foundry in Florida close to the production shop, the machining center and assembly plant, to have control over all of his production needs, not just the machining and assembly, but further down the line.
I had spent a lot of time overseas, particularly China. I went into foundries, and often wondered why we couldn't do this in our country. I couldn't understand how they had an edge on us. They had used very basic equipment, not very advanced. and they were making huge mistakes right in front of my eyes with my own product, and I just didn't feel comfortable in continuing on with buying castings from, or the raw material we had from distant places like China.
I remember years ago when I first started in the company, he kept mentioning we need to open a foundry because it'll reduce our lead time, and I always thought it was like, yeah, one day we'll open it up. And then we came here to Florida, and he says, Mike, we're going to open a foundry. And I said, okay, let's open up a foundry. But we're going to start small. And with Tim, it starts out as an idea and it starts out small, but it turned out to be huge, and it definitely helps the customer. Our lead time is cut by 50%, at least 50%, and making great products that way.
We all shared the same vision as far as what we wanted to be, as far as the footprint of product lines that we wanted to develop. But Tim, that was sort of his project as far as the tank container segment of our business, which is more of an international audience that we cater to. And he'd done a lot of the travel. He'd really done a lot of the nuts and bolts travel to China and Europe and wherever the customers might be.
The market had moved from Europe to China for manufacturing of tank containers. And if that was lost, then it would lose a lot of potential business for Girard. But by Tim getting on it quickly, finding the right guy in China, and working with him, we're able to keep that business momentum moving into that market and further develop new products for that market. And
now, we're 5 different countries right now operating. We like to say that the sun never sets on our business day. It doesn't. It really revolves around the globe, and it's quite exciting to just be here where we are now versus how they started off. But I think, like most companies, that's how they start off very small, and then they build up to a certain level.
When my husband had the company, they probably had anywhere from, because people come and go, 10 to 20 employees. And I think now, the last count, they had 155 employees.
We like to think that we make investments in people, and we think that there's all sorts of technology out there we can embrace, but at the end of the day, people get it done. So technology is almost less of an important thing in our success than it is about the character and the work ethic of the people here, and we just think it's top notch.
In 2012, Girard Equipment was recognized as one of the best places to work in Indian River County, and then he was recognized a couple years later for the sales growth and employee growth for the company.
Tim's involvement in the community has really benefited so many areas. His company is very philanthropic. He is very giving of his time and his financial support. For instance, he established an award for youth that is given to clubs and organizations that serve young people. He has been a contributor, not only financially, but physical labor from his company to do things like Habitat for Humanity and build homes in the community.
Well, they have helped in several ways. Financially, they've given nearly $100,000 to Indian River Habitat over the years through different sponsorships, community sponsorships for special events like our Hoedown, our Habitat race, and our Bold to Build. And also they've been involved volunteering on the construction site. In actual fact, they volunteered on our 300th home that we built back in 2013.
Some of the charities I'm most proud of, certainly Habitat for Humanity, our involvement as the community hero for the past, I think it's 4 or 5 years now. It's somewhat quite a commitment, but we're really honored by it. When I announced it to my employees, they asked for volunteers. I think I had 26 volunteers that within an hour.
He asked us, who if you guys would like to volunteer, come out. He's doing building a house for Habitat for Humanity. And it was within the community where a lot of the workers here do live and knew some of the people that he was building it for. So everybody was very gracious to come out and lend a hand. And we all had a great time. We made it a fun time.
Why I think it's so important to give back to the community is being blessed, you should be a blessing to someone else. I also like to inspire other people. I inspire my co-workers. my friends in the community. I'm inspired.
I think Tim goes back to the community because it's something in his heart and soul that just feels he should do.
In 2015, Tim joined the board of the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, which was kind of neat because that's the same organization that helped him relocate here. And as he told me, it was his way of giving back to that organization. To go full circle, we used Tim as a recruiter and cheerleader when we were recruiting new manufacturers, employers, and businesses to relocate to Indian River County. He has instant credibility with these prospects.
A couple of years ago, I was asked to do Dancing with the Vero Stars, and believe me, anybody asks me to dance, that's not really my forte, and I certainly, I believe I'd had my debut and my swan song all in the same night.
Tim Girard has been a part of Vero Classical Ballet since 2014, and while we were dancing together, he saw our studio and saw the girls and saw the need, and he's helped quite a few girls. And I don't know what we would do without that support, what these girls would do without that support. One of the girls, she couldn't afford tuition and was about to quit, and she went off to the Arizona Ballet. And if it wasn't for Tim and Girls on Point, she would have never had that opportunity.
My dad's a good role model when it comes to giving to others because he's always donating to local charities in need, and that made me realize that other people out there, some people are struggling and we need to help them.
Things that are difficult now, they work through it, they achieve, they go on. This is what every child should be taught to do, to be able to move past their own struggles and not just say, I give up, or I can't do it. My kids aren't allowed to say that. They're not allowed to say, I can't do it. They say that they don't want to do it all the time, but not, I can't do it.
Tim's a great father, and I think if you met his kids, you would know that he was their dad, because he's a very active father. He spends a lot of time with his children.
My dad is funny. He's a hard worker. He tries to get things done on time.
He's taught me that hard work pays off not only in school, but in your everyday life and every single thing that you do.
The best thing about being Tim's son is that I'll be president of Girard Equipment one day.
My plan for the next decade at Girard Equipment is certainly an expansion to where we are now. We're looking at acquisitions throughout the world right now that are going to be very important to our future survival, and also we're going to flourish in this environment.
Oh, I think we're growing in leaps and bounds. We're international. We've just come out with about 12 new items that we're still not in full production with yet, but Tim's always moving forward. He's always looking to expand and build. So I think the future looks great for the company.
I think a lot of big things are coming down the road. Like I said, he's knocking down some walls that's going to expand Girard to even bigger than what it is. And that's why I stand 100% behind Tim, because when he told me from the beginning when we left Jersey, I got some big things headed down the road, and he hasn't misled me yet.
And Tim never lets up, and he looks at, and I mean that in a good way. Tim enjoys the business, enjoys the camaraderie of the whole team and the market, and everyone is always pulling together because of Tim's enthusiasm for the business. And it is a great spark, and it does pep everyone up, no matter what adversity we approach with difficult customers, or if we've got any issue with production, whatever. Tim gets in there with the guys and helps to get it resolved and keep the momentum going.
I think Girard Equipment has been a successful business because Tim honors and recognizes the importance of the company over the years. He recognizes and honors his father's and his family's legacy in this company. He can be trusted. His employees love him, the people in the community love him, and he believes in giving back. And when you become that kind of integral part of the community, your company is a success.
It's meant a lot to me. I could say easily my life's better. I'm a better person for knowing Tim Girard and working with Tim Girard.
Tim is a consummate entrepreneur. He's always planning on how he can grow and improve his company. He takes care of his employees, and he's very involved in our local community. Tim is a real local leader.
Absolutely not. He won't retire. We would have to kick him out, but he would never retire.
God bless anybody that has to live with him until he retires, because work is his passion.
I know in the future Tim's pursuing his restaurant. I know he really wants to get that up and running, but I don't think Tim will ever retire.
My life is very active, and I am starting a restaurant this spring. It's a passion of mine again. It's something I started with 25 years ago. It was interrupted by this little valve business I've been working with for the last 25 years, but I do enjoy that. Again, it's a challenge. There it is again. People say you shouldn't or you can't or what are you, nuts or whatever. No, I think no, I know this is going to be successful. I know what I'm doing there.
Trade Winds is going to be a new restaurant and bar located on Royal Palm Point. It's been a lot of fun, and again, this is Tim's creativity and his passion, but I think he's using a lot of the same principles that made Girard Equipment so successful, and that he's giving customers what they want. In this case, it's a restaurant, a destination.
Do what you love what you do, or love what you do and do what you love. I mean, they're interchangeable, really. But I'm doing what I love, and I love what I do. So that's you don't want to walk away from that. We'll see. I'll see what the future brings. One day I might want to slow down, but I may want to speed up too. So we'll see.